For me, I've always stayed true to pick one ingredient and then have 2 or 3 supporting element ingredients, meaning flavor profile behind that, and that's it. My name is Duffy, and a chef in Chicago, Illinois. I have a few restaurants called Ever and After. When I first conceptualize a dish, it's done on paper and it's done through a little bit of sketching. I'd say about 80% of the time, I can nail it pretty close as to what I'm looking for, but majority of the time, it's always different because once the product gets in hand, it always changes the way it's conceptualized on paper. The moment we start cutting something, it can always change and a new idea can come from that. And that's kind of, we let that creative freedom kind of just be what it is, and we're willing to accept it and be okay with it. And that's how I think a lot of the dishes will change from paper to the actual dish itself. How does the guest receive it at the table, and are they able to get through the dish pretty easily without a lot of effort? I don't want them to work on something to just eat a dish. I don't want them to feel like, man, it was a lot of work for a little bit of food. That ingredient gets in hand. Let's just say corn, because that's something we are working with today. We've used corn 100,000 times. The approach needs to be different. Yeah, we can still make corn soup the way that we like to make corn soup, because I think it's one of the better ways of making it. How do we use the corn soup? Well, maybe it's not soup this time, but it's still the same technique behind it. Maybe it's becomes a sauce that, maybe a piece of fish is poached in, or the end result is the soup, but now maybe that soup is a cooking medium instead of the actual serving portion of the dish, right? That's what, as a chef, that keeps that creative process moving forward a little bit further each year, and each time we pick up that same ingredient every time. Maybe as a child you don't believe in yourself and you don't have a lot of confidence, and those important people in somebody's life that sees something in you. We all have our issues, we all have our things that we go through, but if there is somebody that a person can look up to, somebody that can make a difference in that child, was so important for me, and it kind of changed the way that I thought about myself, the way I thought about maybe what I wanted to do. It was just a little nudge, and I think sometimes that's all it takes, is just a tiny little nudge to kind of push someone in the right direction, where they're like, okay, I can go bad Curtis or I can go good Curtis, and it's easy to go bad Curtis. Not so easy to go good Curtis, because you have to do all these right things in life, right? You have to do and make all these right decisions. You got to work extremely hard. This is so much easier because it's not hard to be an asshole, right? It's easy to be that guy. But the nudge was like, here, go and do these things. You're great at something. You could be great at something if you worked very hard at it. I'm not saying you're great at anything right now. You're 8 years old. But there's potential there. And having that nudge is so important from somebody that believes in you. It was just a nudge far enough to go, hey, I really see that you enjoy doing this. Hey, I really see you enjoy skateboarding. Or I really see you enjoy drawing or painting. Or have you ever thought about doing that? Like, it's just those little moments that can really change somebody's trajectory as to where they go in life, Personal and professional is so intertwined for me. Being a chef is not a light switch. I don't just shut it off when I leave. It's always a mentality, but also that same mentality is that constant drive, and that constant drive is being great at something every single day. Yeah. Because I owe it to myself, and it's my responsibility to be great at something, and so does everybody else, right? And no one else is going to do that for you, and you have to set that goal for yourself, and you have to have your own discipline and fortitude and grit to kind of push yourself to do that. I have no one around me that wakes me up every day and say, hey, you have to go brush your teeth. No, that's what you do. You owe it to yourself to wake up and be great at something. That's life. No, I think I appreciated it more this time than any other time. I've been through the fields many, many times here. Today and yesterday were very magical for me, because it was that moment of silence. I don't get a lot of quiet time in my life. And when Farmer looked around and he made that joke of, you guys hear that? And we're all listening for something, and it was just nothing. It was just like a aha moment. Like, yeah, this is great. This is right where I should be right now. Quiet time is for me is a real thing. Just to get rid of some of the noise that's always around. You get really excited, right? You get like all these ideas and you get all these ingredients, especially in the spring and summertime when there's the bountiful is just everywhere and you can have everything at your fingertips. For me, I've always stayed true to pick one ingredient and then have 2 or 3 supporting element ingredients, meaning flavor profile behind that, and that's it. So we saw the corn dish today. We said, all right, smoked coconut, corn, well, corn being the main ingredient. We got the charred husk, which is another really intense flavor. And then, you know, another major ingredient in there would have been cilantro, because the blooms are so astringent and so floral that it could easily take over a full dish. So there's like 3 flavor profiles there. Beyond that, there's not much behind it. So if you look at any of the dishes, they might look very complicated and like there's a lot going on. From a palate standpoint, you're talking 3 flavors max. That's with every dish, because the more we're introducing flavor-wise, it gets confusing. And I think that's what makes a great chef, is being able to know when to just stop and really hone in on what you have and just focus on that. I got to say, like, I say this all the time, but the team that is around Farmer, and every time that I come here, it's pretty special. I mean, there's not a lot of farm. I don't know if there's any other farm out there in the world that does what he's doing, of course, but it comes down to the people, right? When you see people that have been here for 15, 18 plus years, that means, for me, that means like the leader in charge, the boss man, is doing things right. I have a handful of people that have been with me for 15 years that we must be doing something right. I know he's doing something right. It's always just magical to come back here, and I leave here feeling more as a whole than when I actually get here. When I leave, I feel so much greater as a person.